Hey everyone, I'm here to tell you why coral's too cool for sunscreen. Anytime I go to the beach, I have to slather on tons of sunscreen, or else I end up looking like this. Ever since we were little, we've been told to use sunscreen, otherwise we'll damage our skin. But what about everything in the ocean? They're out in the sun all day. How are they okay? Turns out a lot of marine organisms have adaptations to protect themselves from the harsh sun. This adaptation is also called photoprotection. To understand this a little bit better, we're going to take a look at some coral reefs. First off, we have to understand why coral reefs are so important. Coral is considered to be a primary producer. This means it's at the bottom of the food chain and it carries out photosynthesis to create energy for all the marine organisms above it and therefore depend on this energy. Coral carries out photosynthesis with its endosymbiotic relationship. This is a relationship in which both parties benefit. Most corals contain photosynthetic algae. The coral provides this algae with a protected environment while the algae carries out the photosynthesis. Corals often have these really cool things called fluorescent pigments, which are used to protect this algae and keep it doing photosynthesis. When under UV light, corals with fluorescent pigments often appear brightly colored and reveal an intense greenish fluorescence just like these ones are. Here we are taking a closer look at a coral sample that is typically exposed to a lot of sunlight. In this picture, you can tell the fluorescent pigments apart by looking at the green and yellowish blobs. We've also got arrows pointing to these ones. And then that would mean our red blobs are the endosymbiotic algae. Here we can see that the fluorescent pigments are located above the symbiotic algae. Here it's acting in a similar way to which we use sunscreen to protect us. It protects the algae below it by blocking and absorbing rays when the sunlight is too intense. You see, fluorescent pigments have a very important role because if the sun is able to damage the algae, the coral will then eject it, and this is when we see coral bleaching occur, and we end up with reefs looking like this. In all those other marine animals we saw earlier, the ones that relied on the coral for their nutrients, they're no longer able to live in these environments. And although we still see occurrences of global warming causing coral bleaching, the presence of the fluorescent pigments help to limit this risk. And now you know why coral doesn't need this. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you soon.